Hey scholars, this is a video to explain the special occasion speech and then also just the nature of special occasion speaking. So please be sure that you've already read through the PowerPoint presentation. It's super short, there's only 3 slides. And then make sure you've also already read through the special occasion speech assignment. All that stuff is in the same module. So starting with the PowerPoint, that second slide talks about this is, by the way, this is like a super brief overview of special occasion speaking. As the name implies, a speech for special occasion is special occasions like a wedding, a ceremony of some sort, an award ceremony, or something like that, right? It could be like the opening of a new library or a funeral or any kind of thing that's a unique special occasion. The one that I'm going to be focusing on is ceremonial speaking, which what that does is that helps to strengthen the bond between the listener and the speaker. So the audience and the speaker creates a sense of presence to foster community, trying to bring people together. The different types of ceremonial speaking onto slide 3. Here are some examples: speeches of greeting. You might give a speech where you're greeting an audience or you're introducing someone. Speeches that mark an award. So if you're receiving an award or you're giving, I could write a speech where I'm giving an award to someone and I'm writing a speech for that person. Or if I'm the person receiving that award, I write a speech and I talk about the nature of that award and who I'm thankful for, and so on and so forth. Commemorative celebrations, you might be honoring a culture or a monument or something like that, and it's an annual thing. Or a speech of tribute, you're bringing honor to someone or a group of people or an idea or an institution or something like that. That's what you're doing for the speech. It's a speech of tribute. Next slide there. So a speech of tribute is a speech that's concerned with honoring a person, group of people, an institution, or an idea. What you're doing for your assignment is a person. So a speech of tribute can be like a person or group of people, institutions. I have a link there that will take you to an organization called Covenant House. So feel free to click on that link if you want. I'm giving you an example of what I would do. So that's an organization that works with homeless people, homeless youth in particular. And I happen to have a friend. Um, I have a friend that I've known for a number of years that it wasn't until recently, maybe, I don't know, a handful of years ago, that I kind of found out what he did for a living. He worked for Covenant House. It just so happens that he recently became the CEO of this organization. His name's Bill Bedrosian. And I've talked to Bill on a number of occasions, mostly about like non-work stuff. But then once I found out what he does, I was intrigued, and I talked to him about it in a good deal, and I've read about him in the organization's website, and it's pretty fascinating. So I bring that up because I would say that if this were my assignment, I might write a speech on him. He's my friend, and I definitely think, considering his background, he grew up in Philly. He was one of several foster kids growing up. He's an incredible man, incredible father, husband, all that kind of stuff. And then he works for this organization. There's so many good things to say about the organization and him. So if I were writing a speech, I'd write it on him. I know him. I could call him. I could say like, "Hey, can I meet up with you? Can I maybe do a little interview over the phone or for coffee or something like that, or lunch?" And then I would tailor my speech that way. So I'm giving that as an example for what you might think, for what you might do for your own speech. So go ahead and open up the speech assignment. One second. Sorry, family just got home. So go ahead and take a look at that speech assignment. Make sure you read through this whole thing in detail. I'm not going to read through it all. So what you're doing is creating a ceremonial speech, specifically a speech of tribute, which brings honor and attention to a person. So this person can be historical, contemporary, or famous, or it could be someone that you know, like a family member. Special occasion speech is kind of similar to what you did in the informative speech, but it's different in a number of ways. For the informative speech, your primary goal was to educate the audience, to educate them, enlighten them, demonstrate the degree to which you've done research for this assignment, where you're citing your sources and all that kind of stuff. This is different. Now, you still need to provide a little bit of very brief history of this person's life, but the main focus is that you're trying to inspire the audience. You're bringing honor and attention to this person by talking about a number of things they've done to have a powerful, positive impact on society. Perhaps if it's a family member, it's just it's just your life or your family, or perhaps like a larger community of people that have been impacted. When I say society, it doesn't have to be like the world at large. It could be a small group of individuals. So, like I said, the main purpose of this speech is to inspire the audience, to heighten their appreciation or admiration for the person. Um, you're not going to just be giving a biography, like saying like here's where they grew up, here's where they went to school, here are all their things that they've done. You obviously can list things, but you're kind of have to you're going to be on the fence about, well, how much information do I give? How much like biographical information? How much information do I give about the person? Versus I'm crafting a narrative and I'm telling a story that is intended to make the audience think like, wow, this person's like super inspiring, and it's like emotional. It's wanting me to do something positive, right? Um, this is a much less academic speech. So if you're going to do it on a family member, then you don't need to do any outside research. But if you're not doing it on a family member, if you're doing it on like a person who's famous or historical, an athlete, living or dead, you need to have at least one reference, at least one source, because I'm assuming you're not coming up with the information out of the blue. It's not contained within your head. You have to find that information somewhere, a book, a website, etc. Make sure you list that on your manuscript. So this is a manuscript speech. Um, so what you did for the informative speech is extemporaneous, meaning you're creating an outline and you're speaking from that outline. This speech is a manuscript speech. We talked about different types of speeches, different methods of speaking. One is manuscript. You're typing out the entire speech word for word, and you're reading from that directly to the camera lens. Obviously, you're doing this at home or just not in the classroom. You're doing this on your own. You're going to be using your phone or a computer or something like that, a webcam to record yourself. So don't think like, oh, I just have to read from a manuscript. It's easy. It's easy in a sense that I don't have to memorize anything, but it does take a bit of practice to get super, super familiar with it and speak in a way that just kind of it just flows and you're giving life to that manuscript. So you want to make sure you practice um, quite a bit, several times, to the point where you're just speaking in a very dynamic, passionate way, where you have a dynamic vocal variety, using your facial expressions, nonverbal gestures. It's pretty obvious, like when you read something for the first time versus I've read this 20 times. If I'm reading a story to my kids and it's like I've never read the story before, I'll do my best to like make it energetic and interactive and animated and stuff like that. But it's the very first time, so I don't really. It's kind of hard. But hey, once I've read that story 10, 15, 20 times, I can put a lot more life into it. I can be that much more dynamic with my vocal variety and my delivery and my expressions and gestures and so on and so forth. Um, so to that, you're strongly encouraged to review chapter 4 on verbal communication and then chapter 5 on nonverbal communication to just learn about just the nature of language and words. And the speech is not about writing a long speech. It's not about having lots of information. It's about having an impactful speech where you're bringing attention to this person. And of course, you're definitely encouraged to review the guidelines for effective delivery. Um, and part of that is actually going to help you with studying for the final too, with delivery stuff. So that's kind of the nature of the speech. Make sure you choose a topic that's appropriate for the occasion of the assignment. So think and consider deeply about the degree to which your topic's contribution to society is generally accepted as praiseworthy. In other words, pretty much everyone agrees that it was positive. So you want to make sure you avoid any kind of topic whose background is affiliated with causes that might have been historically divisive. A topic where I give the speech and maybe half the audience is like, wow, I'm so inspired. I love this person. And the other half of the audience is thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm totally opposed to this person and what they stand for. Avoid any topics like that, controversial topics. So, for lack of a better term, choose a safe topic. Um, the manuscript itself needs to be typed. You're going to be submitting it um, on Canvas, 12 point times Roman font, 1 inch margins all around. Um, that I'm not a stickler on that. The speech itself needs to be at least 3, no more than 4 minutes in length. It's 100 points possible. It's only 10 points for the manuscript, so I'm just kind of checking the manuscript to see if it's, the spelling or whatnot. But the overall bulk of your grade is based on your presentation. Read through the grading rubric on this. So a big part of this, a, a big component of doing this particular speech is the camera setup and making sure that you're doing everything correctly. Make sure your camera, your webcam, your phone, or whatever is at eye level. So you might need to do some adjusting. Like right now, I'm sitting at my desk, and so if I were to give a speech on this webcam, what I've done in the past is when I've stood, I'll stand up and then I take my whole computer and I take some boxes and I make sure that it's somewhat eye level. If it's not perfectly eye level, that's fine. But if it's like if you're standing and you're looking down at a computer screen, then it's just a strange angle. Or if you put your phone on the floor and then you're giving a speech while standing, then it's extremely strange. Make sure you don't do that. Use good common sense. Make sure the lighting's good, enough light but not too much. Make sure the camera is set up so that about half of your body is in view. That makes sure that you're not too close or too far away. If you're standing too far away, then and you're like your whole body's in there and you're like super far away, then I can't really see your face. If you're too close, that's just unnecessary. So not there's no perfect way to do that, but about half your body. Make sure you're standing, not sitting. If you're sitting, or if it appears that you're sitting, there'll be a significant grade deduction. And also another commonsensical thing: make sure you watch your video prior to submitting. I've seen this a number of times where a student submits a speech video, and the video itself, it's either audio and no video, so I can hear them but I can't see them, or it's video and no audio, like I can see you but I can't hear anything. That would be bad. Or like an upside down screen. For some reason, I've had students submit videos where I don't know how, but the way the video came up is upside down. So I'm literally like having to tilt my head just to see what you look like, and that's pretty strange. That's kind of rare, but bottom line, make sure you watch your video before submitting it, and that you're confident and that you're confident that that's the submission that you want. Um, and then you can account, you can check everything else. The video that you submit has to be one continuous submission. You can't start and stop and start and stop and cut and edit and stuff like that. It has to be one continuous submission. So when you're recording yourself giving the speech, if you make a mistake or you mess up and you're like, oh man, I don't like that, we'll just start over again. Delete that one and start over again. So what you submit has to be one continuous video. The nice thing about this is you just get to do it from your house. You don't have an audience. You can have an audience if you want. I mean, if you want to have your family members and or friends watching you as you do it, go for it. I've had students do that in the past. That might make it feel more comfortable for you. And make sure, so this is another huge component of this, and everything I'm saying is in this the speech assignment document. Make sure you're looking at the camera lens. So like right now, I'm looking at the camera lens. Right now, I'm looking at the screen. And you can tell there's a big difference between when I'm talking at a camera lens and looking at the screen versus I'm looking at the camera lens now. Make sure that when you're giving your speech, you're holding your speech in your hand, the actual printed manuscript. You're reading it from your hands and not your screen. All this stuff is in the assignment document. I'm telling you all this to make sure that you don't do anything that's going to systematically decrease your grade. All that to say, this is a pretty easy speech. As long as you follow directions and choose the right topic, and then obviously the goal is to write a speech that is captivating the audience, to bring honor and inspire the audience with regards to your topic. If it's a family member, make sure you choose a family member that you would definitely think like, hey, everyone should think this person's inspiring. Watch the sample speeches. So one of the sample speeches on this module, it says "My Crazy Aunt Sue," and it's this student who's talking about her aunt who has rheumatoid arthritis, and she talks about her because she's so inspired by her. And I've heard the speech and I'm like, wow, that's pretty inspiring. Um, if you don't have a family member like that, like personally for me, I honestly can't think of a family member that I would write a speech on that I think I could inspire the whole audience about. So That's just me. But maybe for you, I've had a student in the past who said, "Hey, I want to give a speech on my uncle. He's from Vietnam, and he like was in I think she said he was in a war, and then he was like I forget her exact story. It was a few years ago, but she said that he had such an inspiring story, and like and her whole family, like her whole family is like very much enamored by him because of everything that he went through. So if you have a family member like that, hey, that might be a great choice. Don't just say like, oh, I'm going to choose my grandma because I love my grandma. Well, unless you can craft a speech that's like super inspiring, then I would say choose something else. And maybe you do with a family member, go for it. It makes it easier. Otherwise, choose a person. It could be an athlete, an actor, someone that you read about in a book, um, an author, or whatever. You know, do some brainstorming. So when you're recording your speech, you're going to record it from either a webcam or your phone. And when you get that video, you'll get a video file on from that. It'll be like an MP3 or an MP4 video file or something like that. Oftentimes, that's too large of a file to upload to Canvas. In other words, it would just sometimes I've had students say like, "Oh my gosh, it's been uploading for 45 minutes." If it's taking 45 minutes to upload, it might be too much. Maybe your camera, your computer might be too slow. You don't have enough internet speed. If the file size is too large, it might not work. I've seen 4-minute speeches where the file size is 100 megabytes or 20 megabytes or 400 megabytes. I don't know what accounts for all those discrepancies or all those different amounts of space or file sizes. But if it's too big, then upload your video, your speech video, or your video file to YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube account, you can create a YouTube account. It's very easy. I'm confident you can all figure that out. Um, that might be the easiest way to do that, to account and to make sure that you're not making any mistakes, and make sure that you get everything that you need to get. So a lot of students will do that. They just upload their video file to YouTube and then send me that, provide that link for me within the speech assignment module. You could copy and paste that YouTube link within your manuscript. You could put it in the submission box on Canvas. You could put it in the comment box. As long as I have that link to YouTube, and make sure that it's public, not private. Make sure you're not using Google Docs or anything like that. When you're submitting your manuscript, the manuscript needs to be just a Word or PDF, no Google Docs or anything like that. I've had students who they submit the video file and then, or they give me the YouTube link. I click on the YouTube link. It says this is private, and then I'll reach out to the student. I say, hey, it says it's private. I need access or permission. The student to get back to me. And if the semester comes, I have to do grades, and the student gets a 0. So just follow directions. Make sure you use some good commonsensical thinking with regards to doing everything you need to do. For some of you, this is going to be easy breezy. You've done a lot of stuff online, but others, I've taught public speaking online, and some students are very unfamiliar with the nature of recording themselves and uploading video files. So everyone's in a different boat. So that's that. Make sure you read through the grading rubric. This is what I use to grade the presentation. Have fun with it, and like I said, this is not about writing a really long speech and getting as much information as possible. You can have a relatively short speech, but if you're speaking excessively slow in a weird way, then that's not good. But this is about like storytelling and trying to get through to the audience, and you don't have to do that by having just a super long speech. I have 4 or 5 sample speeches, the video files, and then the other document I have in there there's 5. I think there's 5, a total of 5. I don't know how many. I can't think. But there's sample manuscripts. So there's several. There's a document that says sample manuscripts with commentary. And what those it's a full speech, an actual speech. Some of them were either done in a classroom or there were actual speeches done in public. One was from a former First Lady of the United States. So it's the speech manuscript. So that was the actual speech given. And then there's a detailed commentary basically talking about like, here's what the speaker did and here's how. You'll see in those sample speeches, the way that it's written is almost like It's basically they give it a paragraph. Like they're like one speech would be 18 paragraphs, and it's not really 18 paragraphs, but it's like different sections of the speech is written as a paragraph, and then they number them. Sometimes a paragraph might be a sentence or two sentences. Read through all those samples. It's going to be helpful for you to kind of wrap your head around like the nature of um, a manuscript speaking and specifically special occasion speaking, because all those speeches, there's all those speeches that are special occasion speeches. There's a couple that are like specific on a person. There's one called James Cool Papa Bell or something like that. That's about one specific person. So um, I'm giving you as much information as possible to help you with like wrapping your head around what you're supposed to do and to make this as easy as possible. Like I said, it's a much less academic speech. You're not going to be spending a ton of time on the computer, but it's more so like how do you craft a speech. You're not going to be spending time on a computer in terms of doing research. You'll obviously have to write your manuscript, but a lot of what you can do is like when you're sitting down, like, well, how do I inspire the audience? Well, you might need a dictionary or a thesaurus, or just reference your textbook, or just think like what kind of like analogies or metaphors could I use, or word pictures can I use to get the audience to realize how inspiring this person is. Um, and that can take some time. It doesn't take lots of words. It just takes thought and intentionality and whatnot. Some of you are naturally good at that, and then others it might take more work. So that's that. Feel free to ask me questions if you have any. You can reach out to me. You can either ask me in class during the final exam, when you're finished with the final exam, or email, whatever works better for you. So that's everything for the special occasion speech. Hope you're doing well.